Stuff. Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to the Odessia Podcast, first episode. I am excited to have my friend Levi here with me for my first ever podcast, literally ever. Huh.
Yeah, hello Nick. How are you?
I
I'm
am,
excited to be on the podcast today. Your
well,
first
I'm,
one.
yeah, I'm glad to have you on. Just before this podcast, we had some trouble finding a good voice chat service that wasn't like dropping in the middle of our
Oh
conversations
yeah.
and stuff. And we're still not perfect yet, so there might be some mistakes, but so just bear with us. We also don't have like the best equipment in the world yet. Hope to get there one day, but got to start somewhere, right? And this is
Yeah,
something I always wanted to do, and I just said,
exactly.
screw it. Might as well start now. And then in a year from now or whatever, I could look back and say, "Oh man, that was so shitty." I probably shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we'll see. We'll see.
yeah, we'll definitely see here. So there might be a few second delay. It seems to be coming on and off. Sometimes it's really good, and sometimes there is a delay. I think, but it's the first
Mm-hmm.
time, so
Yeah,
whatever. Um, so my friend Levi here
yeah.
has we've been good friends for since when? Grade 7 is when we started really becoming friends. Well, we became close
Oh,
friends
I
in like high school.
remember. Yeah, I remember. So we were friends since grade like four or something when we were in not even junior high, like
Elementary?
elementary, I
Yeah.
guess. And I mean, we played curling together with Austin.
Yep.
And but yeah, we've been really good friends since high school at least. And yeah, we we went through all high school together and becoming adults, and now we're I don't know, adults, I guess, young adults.
Young adults, yep. I'm the
But
oldest
yeah,
here, but
and yeah,
we're still trying to figure out what we want to do with life.
yeah, yeah. I think that's what the 20s are for, though.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's just yeah, the whole decade really is just about finding yourself, what you enjoy, and going from there, really. So, you guys, that I'm planning on doing this podcast weekly, releasing it every Sunday between noon and 1. I'll have different guests, but Levi here will be one of the most reoccurring, probably. Well, we enjoy talking to each other, and it's pretty easy for us to talk to each other
Yeah,
for
for sure.
hours when we're both in the right mood, of course.
Yeah.
Uh, um, so, anyway, I wanted to let Levi tell a bit of his backstory. But just quickly before I do that, if you guys did watch any of my older content from like 6, 7 years ago, he went by the name Ninja7Ninja. And yeah, that's the same guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Levi, tell us about your backstory, where you came from, and all that fun stuff.
So I'm Canadian, and I came from Grand Prairie, Alberta, and I was born there, and I grew up there, and I went to school in the same school as Nick, and I went there for my whole life except for high school, and then did high school, and now after I graduated, I worked and just doing construction, and then I worked at a grocery store doing on the night crew,
Yeah,
doing stocking shelves and everything, and um, yeah, and I even worked at a movie theater when that was my first job, and that was interesting,
yeah.
getting free popcorn every day and yeah, free drinks and popcorn, so really unhealthy, but
From the
yeah, it was good for 6 months or 8 months or whatever it was,
oh,
and
that's the same computer, really?
make a little bit of money. I think I bought my first computer with that money actually. Um, when I got my what computer I have now actually.
Well, just before you get into all that, I wanted to ask you about what were you worked in the movie theater till when grade 11? Grade 12? Because then you did construction, right?
I think it was grade 10 to 11, yeah. And and then I quit around, yeah, so I did that when I graduated. Um, when I worked at the movie theater was when Austin was working there as well. And I worked there, but then I think I quit right before grade 12 because I was expecting a lot more work, homework, and doing diploma tests, which are where they were worth 50% of our mark back then, and just very difficult time in grade 12. So I figured stopping work would have helped me, and
What do you think about that choice now?
it's probably a good choice, yeah. I mean, because I also switched to the south side of Grand Prairie then, to the other school, and so I would have had to drive all the way across town every time for my work, which 15 in the small city we were in, 15 minutes to work every day is quite a bit, and driving through the really bad snow or the ice on the roads is not
Oh
not the
no,
best
winter
all
was
the
not
time.
fun there at all.
So I didn't even have my driver's license, so I was driving with my parents then as well. So I had them having to take me there and back every time was not the best.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, that's why I quit, and then I worked in construction, which was actually a really good thing for me because I consider myself a perfectionist, or I definitely was back then.
relatable. Yeah,
Like trying to be everything perfectly. And that job showed me that you can't be a perfectionist, and all the time anyway. And that showed me like the best ways to get around that, where you kind of just have to say that's close enough, because I don't know if it happened to you ever, but if you're a perfectionist, you try and you do things and it's like 95% good, but then you're like, I want to get 100% good. And then when you try and improve it, you usually make it worse. Um, and I know my dad
yep,
was the same
happened
way.
to me every single time.
Yeah, so that job was like, you know what? Someone else messed this up, so I'm just gonna do my best job, and then the next person works on it, because we were just working. You would do a part, and then the next person would come and do a part, and
Yeah,
so you just have to kind of rely on the person before you doing a good job. Sometimes that didn't happen, so you just had to go with the flow. And I learned pretty much every part of.
yeah, exactly. Uh, no, that's totally relatable.
Yeah, learned pretty much every part of building a house, which was really good, and really good experience, like life experience anyways.
Yeah, like I think it's worthwhile for everyone to in their lifetime to get a job in like some kind of construction or trade type job,
Hmm.
just as a part time or whatever, and also
Yeah, for
retail.
sure.
I think those two you learn all sorts of life skills,
Yeah,
and they just make you a nicer, better person. Mainly because I know it was like
yeah,
back
for
when I,
sure. That's
cause
so that's what happened with me with the movie theater was retail.
yeah, so yeah, you had retail, and then you had construction, but then you also had retail with Safeway, but in a different way, because you were night crew.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't have to work with many people. Only in the morning when the customers would come in for the last half an hour of my shift. But I always had to work in like a customer orientated way. So you have to make everything look nice, and try and like the managers would always tell you stuff about what the customers thought, and then you had to change it depending on what they say. And so yeah, I mean, I think customer service is really good because some people just don't even realize how crappy it is sometimes. And then you get people that just think they're so entitled, and you got to serve me right now or whatever. And it just helps if every single person that's able to anyway should be able to do retail for 6 months or something, and then doing like a trade for 6 months, so you just can see all the different parts of it.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, yeah, no, I 100% agree with that, because I mean, like I worked at a grocery store too, and I started as a basically a janitor, and then I went to cashier, I went to grocery. I also did customer service when I was a cashier, and then I became a supervisor and even manager. So I had like experience all over the place as well with that. And no, I very much agree with the notion that yeah, some people just feel so entitled and they don't understand how like lucky and fortunate they are to even have food readily available that easy. Uh,
Hmm.
it is hard to appreciate that because it's something we've had for a while now, but it makes you be like, you know what, mistakes happen, it's okay, type mentality. I don't have really any issues with millennials. It's and Gen X is pretty good too, but like the older generations, man, like especially like baby boomers and all that, like the okay boomer. Oh, that's so
Okay,
relatable.
boomer.
Yeah, okay boomer. Yeah, I don't know. It's just they feel so like
Yeah, I know
entitled.
it's a meme, but
Yeah, like I
yeah.
shouldn't say that they're entitled, but they like are very stuck in their ways.
For
Is the
sure. Yeah.
best
Yeah.
term. But I know
Yeah.
quite a few good baby boomers too. I don't want to generalize all, but yeah, going to the meme. No, it's a meme, but man, is that relatable.
Mm, for sure. It's yeah, I
And
mean
now
it's
we're
it's the
like way
same as
off
any group,
topic.
you
So
know?
go now. Yeah, that's true. Grade 11, I believe. I remember. So you didn't have your driver's license, but I did, and I remember we took. Me and Levi actually lived not too far from each other. So from the high school,
Hmm.
we would just hop in together and carpool back. But I think I'll let you explain it because I think out of the two of us, you're the better storyteller. But tell them about the time about the one guy on the bike that was like just scared the whatever's out of us.
Yeah. So we were driving, I think it was in the summer, so there wasn't any bad weather or anything, but we was driving almost right by the high school and we were gonna go turn onto like the main street to go home. And this guy was driving his bike in the middle of the road. And where we live, that's not a normal thing. You go on the sidewalk, and where this was, the sidewalks are amazing for bikes, and they even had a bike lane for them on the other side. And he was just in the middle of the road, and we were trying to go home, and he was just like going so slow. Like usually, if you're a bike, you're considered like a vehicle, you know. And usually, you're supposed to go about the same speed as a vehicle if possible, and he was just going maybe 20 kilometers an hour, 10 kilometers an hour, just so slow. And so I think Nick maybe honked at him, but it was like far away. So he just turned around, like not a long honk, just a short one. And he just turned around and looked at us, and he's like, "What are you doing?" You know?
Yeah.
And then so Nick just went around him. He turned to the side, and then Nick went around him, and then we drove to the red light, and we were going to turn right. We were waiting at the light, and then all of a sudden we just hear boom, 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 and we look behind us, and he's hitting the back of Nick's car, like, and we're like, what is wrong with this guy, you know? And and then I think he was about to come up to
Oh
us,
my
and
God, that was
he was
terrifying.
probably gonna hit our the side of the window, maybe even break it, who knows? But luckily the light turned and Nick turned, so we didn't see him any longer. But that was, I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, maybe you shouldn't have honked at him, but like he was totally in the wrong, driving slow in the middle of the road. You know, it's just not smart, and he had plenty of other places to be
He
properly
was,
with his bike. That was an interesting story for us.
oh yeah, he was definitely on something.
Yeah.
Like definitely.
Yeah, that's downtown where all the people were with drugs and stuff. So,
Yeah, because our hometown of Grand Prairie is pretty rough. But
yeah,
then
for
like in
sure.
grade 12, we actually went to separate high schools because a new high school and all that opened. So that sucked. But well, we
Yeah.
made it through. Our friend group did, and well, now here we are today. So
yeah, we met up every couple months, usually for like a birthday or whatever, and because your birthday was in like the fall, and then
Yeah.
my birthday's in the early winter, and yeah, so it's every like 3 months, 2 months we'd meet up and have a games night or a movie or whatever, and then we'd have drinking some days, and that was
Oh
funny
God,
because
yep.
we, you know, when you're young and drinking, and um, I mean we were all over 18 at that point, so it was like legal and everything, but
Were
we
we?
just drink and just be hilarious with each other, and yeah, we were all over 18. I think we drank for your birthday.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that when for my 18th birthday we went to this one bar and my parents tagged along with like all my friends and that was kind of awkward.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Oh, that was kind of weird. I remember like
Yeah,
I don't know what to talk about. Oh,
yeah,
interesting experience. And I mean, honestly, I kind of
yeah. I
wish we
mean,
met up more
how
in high
often?
school,
Yeah, and
but
your parents are older, so it's
and
like,
yeah, no, they
you
they
know,
are older
yeah.
too. Uh, which just made it even worse, I guess.
It
uh,
wasn't that bad.
but
Yeah.
going back to no, like looking back at it now, no, but it's still funny to think about for sure. Shit, what was I forgot was I where I was going. But anyway, so let's go back to your backstory. So we left off at night. You worked night crew,
Yeah, so
and
I did the construction job um for like the whole summer, the fall, and the winter, and then in the early spring I decided to go to Europe with my friend. I was gonna go by myself. Actually, I had it planned with my best friend from high school, but she ended up having to pay for, she didn't have the money, so I was gonna go by myself. And then it ended up I went with going with Sean, who you may have on the podcast in a couple
yep.
weeks or next week. And yeah, so we went for 2 months and we did the whole Europe tour with all the main cities in Europe pretty much. Doing all the museums and the churches and having all the beer. Well, not a lot of beer, but trying a beer from each country or whatever.
What was your
And
favorite?
yeah, I
Which
mean,
country?
mm, I think at the time it was probably like a Belgian beer.
Ah,
It was pretty
okay.
good. And yeah, I mean now I'm German. German beer is my favorite, of course, but
Yeah,
um,
of course.
yeah, so yeah, we did like the whole tour of Europe, and I mean it was good, but we really got tired because we were just going to museums every day and seeing churches every day. And honestly, we saw the best churches at the end of the trip. So 2 months in, you know? So like the Notre Dame and the Sagrada Familia and um, St. Peter's Basilica in Peter's, St. Paul's in the Vatican. So all of
In
those were the
Vatican, yeah.
last three, and then the other ones before that were like the ones, you know, they're cool, but they're not like the
Well, that's the
famous
thing about Europe is that
ones.
there's so many
And
churches, right?
yeah, yeah. It sounds bad,
And like
but you
I know like on my
really
Europe trip,
get tired of them.
I think we're experiencing some lag here. Just so the viewers are aware, fight it for time. So I'm gonna try and deal with
Yeah,
that for now. But you know, so how long
yeah.
were you gone again for that trip?
It was two months almost, so like 50 some days, 56 days or something like that. Staying in hostels every day and seeing a church probably every day or more than one church every day. So it sounds like so lucky or like, you know, obnoxious or whatever, but it's like once you see a couple churches all within a short amount of time, they all look the same, you know, or similar. So then after a while, you
Yeah,
kind of get tired of the churches and, you know,
yeah. It's just like the same thing over and over again, unfortunately.
yeah.
Um, no, I hear you about that. And then so you came back from that, or actually at first I want to ask you, because for a lot of people it's like it's really hard to take that step for by themselves or even with a good friend to go on like a trip to Europe or really anywhere in the world. So I was just wondering, what was your thought process of going on your like first major trip on your own without your parents?
So, I mean, I traveled a lot when I was young. Well, I've traveled my whole life a lot because my dad's American, so we're always going to America back and forth and whatever. And so I mean, I used to traveling, and I never traveled by myself before, but like um, I don't know. I did have really bad self-confidence issues and all these different things, but for me, it was never like uh, a block to go traveling, I guess. So I know some people just can't even imagine going by themselves to Europe or even like, going to a different city by themselves in the same country that they're from. And even though I had like self-confidence issues and I had really bad facial acne and stuff, and for me it was like the worst thing because people looked at, for me anyways, what I thought is people looked at me differently, and so it did affect my confidence and stuff. But I don't know, I saw it as like a way to hopefully like maybe I would find a cure for it, or just find a way that I really enjoyed life, like maybe I really love France or Germany or wherever, Rome, and maybe I wanted to live there one day or anything like that. And so what I ended up
Right.
doing is I do like procrastinating. I do a lot of procrastinating, but what happens for me is I book the flight
Relatable.
first, and then you have to go. If you book the flight, then you're gonna waste like $1,000 if you don't go. So that's the main thing. If you book the flight, then you're going for sure. Um,
That you
and
kind of have to, like you basically it's more incentive to actually
yeah,
go.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's guaranteed. Then like most people aren't gonna waste $1,000. And once you book it, then it's kind of like it's done. And you can book some hostels or hotels or wherever you stay, and that's the easy part really. Um, so then after that, for me usually I don't get nervous until like the flight, like the day before, the night before of the flight, and then that's it. So I book it and I'm like, whatever. A month I'm going into France, and then I just go. And I know it's not easy like that for some people, but I mean, what's the worst that can happen, really? You go there and you end up not liking it, and you can always have your flight back home, or worst case is you have to pay extra money to go home early. But for me, it's really not like traveling is just so easy these days, and there's so many people like you and everything like that.
It's a great way of expanding your horizons and realizing that yeah, we're
For sure,
all
yeah,
in the end we're all human here. Doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, what your social status is, or anything. Uh, that we're all human and everyone struggles with the same type of stuff.
yeah,
And I mean, I'm also a huge fan of traveling too, and I've been very fortunate to be able to travel a lot in my younger days too. So like I guess for us, I think it was easier for us to take that step just because we'd had so much experience traveling and we just want to go out there and see more because every human has that instinctive desire to go out and explore. It doesn't necessarily mean traveling,
hmm
but like you want to explore beauty products or you want to explore this, that, exploring video games or etc. Uh, and just yeah, it just happened with both me and Levi that traveling was one thing that we both really enjoyed. So much so that we actually I won't go into too much detail because I'm planning on in a future podcast to talk more about this stuff. But I'll just briefly mention that yeah, me and Levi also went to New Zealand and Australia together for 2 months. Levi
yeah,
left before me. I'll let him if he wants to share a little bit about that. But that really helped both of us, I think, get out of our shells because we were both in a similar position after high school. We're just trying to figure out what we wanted to do, find our true selves, our passions, blah blah blah. What most people have to deal with out of high school, and struggled with. Just yeah, just dealing with that lack of motivation, all that fun stuff. Not really fun stuff. I meant that sarcastically, but just go into a totally different place and forcing yourself to have to talk to new people and stuff like that. Nerve wracking at first, but at least I found that once I was there, I was in a lot better. It was easier for me to actually take that step to talk to people when I was there. It was just taking the step to get to the airport first, which is why I 100% agree with Levi that booking that flight is like a must. Just book it and you're golden, really, because then it forces yourself to go, unless of course like an emergency happens. But it's like I couldn't recommend traveling enough. It's just it's amazing to see what's actually out there in person, and even if you're an introvert like me, still meeting people from all over the world is an awesome experience. And you don't have to go to every party. I sure didn't. Uh, but just talking to new people from all these places just is a great way to expand your horizons. And well, not only that, the like, help you gain confidence and stuff too. So it's no, it's definitely a great experience. Did you want to share anything about your, just briefly, of course, about your stay in Australia?
Yeah, sure. So my first trip, my first big trip was Europe, and I did like the museum and churches and stuff, history, and we didn't party at all, and that's partly because who I was traveling with and stuff, but also because just me, I wanted to just explore and do that. And after I was working at Safeway, the night shift, um, I decided I wanted to go to Australia. I was watching these really cool podcasts with these two people, what the faux podcast, and they travel and make podcasts while they're traveling and stuff. And I really enjoyed it. And then they had an episode about New Zealand and Australia, and that just got me to say, hey, I'm going to go to Australia now. And so I saved quite a lot of money, and it took me over a year to save for it, and then I just booked my flight and I quit my job, and then I decided to go on a working travel visa to Australia, and the visa was really easy to get, took like 12 hours, and I applied, and then the next morning when I woke up, it was approved. So I
Huh.
decided I was going to Australia, and I took the flight, which
Although
was a
if
long
I
flight. It was
remember,
like
Levi, that
15.
we originally were
Yeah,
so like our friend group was planning on doing a West Coast trip, like of West Coast Canada and the United
in
States.
America. Yeah,
Yeah, in America. But then everyone
yeah,
except for me and Levi backed out of that. So we said, screw it. Where do we want to go in the world? Because we both wanted to go on a trip
yeah.
together. And me as a huge Lord of the Rings fan, said New Zealand, and Levi's like, sure. And then I think, you took more steps into looking into staying in Australia before I would arrive. And then rinse and repeat. Everything continued as Levi said. But man, that was an interesting
Yeah.
experience planning that. There were like we also watched wasn't it Carl Watson? It's
Oh
Carl
yeah,
Watson, right? Yeah, we watched a lot of his videos too,
Carl Watson.
and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Carl Watson, and I think we both really enjoyed his New Zealand video, and you could also tell like it was like I think he said it himself, it was his favorite
Hmm.
place that he's been to, at least at the time we
It's
watched
his
these.
favorite
I don't
country in the
know.
world. Yeah,
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 and so we're just we just
yeah. He's a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So with his videos,
exactly.
yeah, he makes like Lord of the Rings videos. So he'll make his cool video, and then there'll be a part where they're doing some some part of the Lord of the Rings tour or whatever, and then he puts in the Lord of the Rings music. So it's like a nice mix of travel and Lord of the Rings, if you like Lord of the Rings, and it's just a perfect mix of a video. And I love his videos, and I even got to meet him in Australia as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that
yeah,
was,
it's
and you
cool.
guys had like a full like hour conversation or whatever, right?
Yeah, so I was in the Gold Coast of Australia, and he was doing he's a YouTuber, so he makes and his full-time job is actually editing and shooting videos. So his he got a job for STA Travel, which is a big travel company in Europe, I think. And so they flew him to Australia, ended up being in the same place as I was at the end of his trip. And so I messaged him and I said, "Hey, man, like if you want, we could totally meet up for a beer or whatever if you have time before," because he was leaving for the airport that night or in the morning. So I just messaged him, and then I saw that he posted an Instagram story or something of where somewhere in the Gold Coast, and I'm like, oh, I know where that is. I'm staying like 5 minutes from there. So I ended up walking around and looking for him. And I'm like, I totally won't see him, but it's worth a try. So I was just walking around and I saw him, and he was at a pub, but he was working on his
That's
videos. So
crazy.
he had his laptop out and he had his headset on. And I totally didn't want to disturb him, so I just said, whatever, I'll go back to my hostel. And then later he messaged me saying, "Oh, actually, sorry, dude, I don't have enough time. I'm going to the airport and I'm going to meet with some friends before I leave. But next time for sure, if we got to meet up." And oh, that's too bad, but have a good flight and everything. And then like an hour later, he texted me and messaged me again, and then he said, "Actually, I have time. Do you want to meet up for a beer?" So then we met at this Irish pub or something, and we talked for over an hour, I think, maybe even 2 hours. And yeah, I mean, he was like one of the people that inspired me to travel to Australia and New Zealand. So it was cool to meet him, and he's like exactly the same as his videos. And yeah, I mean, he's a smart guy. He's funny. He's got a British, so he's got a British accent and everything. And yeah, that was amazing.
Just
Really, it was
sounds
like
smarter than us.
yeah, he's like he's not a famous YouTuber. He's got like 100,000 subscribers, which is a lot, but not for YouTube these days, Like most people have a million or more. Um, but yeah, like for me, it was like meeting a celebrity, and ends up being the celebrities like exactly like you imagine, and just so cool to meet him.
Yeah, that's it's like a thing from Destiny almost. Like it was like it's like Destiny saying, "Yeah, here you go, man. Here, gain some confidence, and so you
Yeah,
can keep going
come
on
to
your path
Australia because of him, and
where you're supposed to be."
yeah.
Yeah, because you really changed in Australia, and I don't mean in that. I mean that in good way, like in a really good way. I think that really helped you, like
Mm,
find your like true self, more confident, more outgoing, more. I mean, you were always pretty outgoing, but like even more so. And yeah, like you said, confidence booster and all that stuff. And I mean, I felt the same way, but I wasn't in Australia and all that for as long. Or on my, I only went for 2 months uh, for a trip. That's still a long
yeah, I was
time,
there for
but
I was there for 6 months, I guess, and um, I think the real change is when you're by yourself and you have to, do your own things. Like if you're traveling with someone, then you have plans already, or maybe they
to
make
an
the plans
extent,
for you,
yeah,
or
at least,
like my friend my friend
yeah,
in Europe when we were there, we just went to museums, and when we got to the hostel, we were so tired that we didn't talk to anyone really. So we met some people, but not like nothing like Australia. So my mission in Australia was the exact opposite. So I did go to museums and stuff, but I was always trying to meet people at my hostel because I didn't know anyone. So like I met some people in Sydney, and they told me to come to Melbourne. So I went to Melbourne, and I spent like 3 months there, and then I met two people there that are still some of my good like best friends still, and I'll probably be friends with them for my entire life. And and I wouldn't have met them
Yep.
if you don't talk to anyone, you know? And yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, that was my goal, was trying to like grow as a person, and I think I achieved that. I mean, maybe I still need to
You
grow
definitely achieved that.
and figure out what I need to do more, but it was definitely a huge,
It's a
huge
never-ending process.
yeah, definitely a huge thing for me though, and I definitely would do it again for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, like I think that's when you, I think that was your defining moment so far in your life to become closer to the person you want to be and all that stuff. And mine has been in this past year. Well, actually, all of 2018. That was
Mm.
quite an eventful year for me. Oh, I also wanted to ask you, but I didn't want to interrupt you back when we were talking about Grand Prairie, where we came from. So I just want to get your your opinion on like where we grew up and all that stuff and the struggles of like living there or like and like some of the good things and stuff too. Just like how it was like what was it like to live in Grand Prairie and all that?
Yeah, so it's like a town of I think it's 70,000 people now, and it's pretty much like the furthest north city in Alberta. And yeah, I mean,
Major city, yeah.
yeah, so I mean it's okay. And when I was young, it was really nice. You know, you've got like it's a big enough city where you have everything you need, but also like 20, 30 minutes from the absolute wilderness where for me I was hunting when I was younger, and I still do. Not now, but like in the last couple of years I still hunted, and that was for me like the best part. You know, you could go out into the wilderness and camp or fish or hunt and whenever you wanted, and there was not that many people out there. Um, and
It's a nice escape
the
from
only bad
reality.
thing yeah, the one of the bad things I would say though is the weather is awful, and it's definitely not for your health there. Like it's just so cold. Sometimes it gets down to minus 50 Celsius or even colder. And I remember some days we couldn't go outside for more than 30 seconds, or else you'd get frostbite, and that's awful. And in the winter you get
And dealing
maybe
with that
six
for like 8
hours
months.
Yeah, in the winter you get maybe 6 hours of sunlight, not even sunlight, just light. It might be cloudy the whole day, so then you don't get anything. And then it's freezing cold, and it's from late October until March usually. um, just really not good for you. And if you have any type of mental health issue or anything like that, it's not good for your skin. It's not good for, you're missing vitamin D, um, and definitely a
Seasonal
bad place
depression hits
for
you hard.
seasonal depression and everything like that. Yeah. And but I mean, my family lived there, which was really good. And I met some really good friends there, and I grew up there my whole life. But for me, I wouldn't go back there to live. It's just not the best city for I think people of our thoughts and ideas and stuff. Like it's a big oil field city with people that just want to work their whole life there and not do like they just stay there the whole life. They don't even leave, you know? Um, I know people that have never even left like Western Canada, and that to me that's crazy. You've never even seen America, and it's not that far away.
Yeah, that's going like back into our point of traveling, where it's like it's really nice to expand your horizons and just experiencing new things, seeing new ideas, and just get a whole new outlook on life. But I mean, like
Mm,
for like the lifestyle like there is just not for us. Like Levi was saying, like me and him are both the like have entrepreneurial type mindsets, and just for entrepreneurship in the fields that we want to do, like tech or media or like stuff like that. It's Grand Prix is just not the place for that. Uh,
no,
but I
not at all.
mean, and also just like yeah, like the winters were just brutal. Uh, like, I mean, I'm a person that struggles with like depression and anxiety and stuff like that, and the winters they just make they really just amplify it. I just I just can't deal with that for
Hmm.
that amount of time. On the bright side, though, Grand Prairie does get a lot of sun in the winter. It's just extremely cold and miserable that way. But at least you get quite a bit of sun. You are in Germany right now, living in Germany. Um, how
Hmm.
in the heck did that
Yep.
happen? With lack of a better question.
So that's a long story, but I'll try and keep it shortish. Um, because that would
Now we got
probably go
time.
into the traveling episode as well, though, you know? Um,
Yeah, yeah, like we'll further expand on it.
yeah. So like to keep a short story is I was in New Zealand and I met this German girl and she's my girlfriend now. But we had a really good time and we spent I think a week
Uh,
together and everything. And we just really like you meet amazing people traveling, but um her was like another level above that, you know, like you knew immediately that something was like special about them, or I thought so anyways, and I think she thought so as well. So after New Zealand,
it's
we
a
went our
true love
separate
story.
ways. Yeah, it's a love story, but um, yeah, and then so I went to Australia and to Sydney and up with Nick, and then she went did the rest of New Zealand and then to Hawaii, and I was in the Gold Coast of Australia, but it was during the winter, so the winter months, and the tourism season goes down so much during the winter months. So I was looking for work because I hadn't worked for like 5 months or something like that, 6 months. So I needed to work, and that was my whole visa was a working travel visa. So, anyways, I was looking for a job, and there was literally nothing, no jobs at all. And they were saying, "Yeah, come back in like 2 months for work." And I'm like, "I can't do that. I need to do something other than that. And I don't want to be sitting here just spending all my money for 2 months, even more." So I was just looking around, and then she told me, "Oh yeah, you should come to Germany." And I was like, "Oh, that's a cool idea. I've been to Germany, but she lives, I'm in Cologne, Germany now, so I've never been to Cologne." And I'm like, "That's a cool idea, even if I just go to Germany and then come back to Canada." But so I just decided, yeah, whatever. So I looked at some flights, and the prices were actually really cheap, and I didn't just book a flight, but I looked around for not traveling, studying at one of the universities, or if there's a possibility of working or whatever. And I looked up a bunch of stuff, and I spent a week doing it, I think. And then at the end, I eventually just decided to go, and I would look for the university stuff there. And so that's what I did. I flew to Germany, and now I've been here since last August, so over a year. And I'm working now, and I hope I can study next September because just learning German. So there's possibilities to study in Germany in English, but it's very low, like a couple percent, like 5% or lower possibility to study in Germany because there's just no classes, and then those classes get filled by English people, of course. And people outside of Europe have less chance than Europeans or Germans for everything. So work or
European
studying.
Union.
Yeah, so for me it was just hard, and so I ended up finding a decent job that I can learn German, and while I do that, and so I'm learning German. I'm living with my girlfriend now, the one I met in New Zealand, and I'm loving it here.
uh,
It's not like
that's
I
awesome.
wouldn't say it's not like the best in the world, but I mean I love the beer here, the food here, and I mean
The
I'm in the middle of
culture, everything,
everything,
eh?
really. Yeah, the culture's nice, and I'm close to Amsterdam, I'm close to Berlin, I'm close to Paris, like everything, London, all within like an hour flight of me, and or half a day of train journey. But that's that's where I am now, and I can explain that more on another podcast, I think, for like the traveling part. But
Yeah,
um, yeah,
but it's
that's
great,
the
and
main
I
part of
think
it.
it's
And
important for people to hear that though, because that's I think it's honestly like pretty inspiring that you know you took those steps, and despite what like a lot like everyone was saying, oh, don't do that, or that's crazy and stuff like that, you just knew it was the best thing for you in like in your heart, for lack of a better term. Sounds cheesy, I know.
hmm
But like you're in a lot better place than you were when you were back here, and you know you're taking the steps of becoming a, what's the word I'm looking for, a strong leader in the world, with so to speak. And I think it's important for people to hear that, because yeah, no, it's really inspiring. Definitely inspired me to
yeah,
take
I
action
mean,
in what I'm doing right now and with my business and stuff too.
yeah, no, I mean, so yeah, a lot of people told me it was a dumb idea or whatever, and I definitely didn't do it just for her, you know. Um, I I've been to Germany, like I said, and I really enjoyed Germany and the culture here and stuff, and I love history, so like this is the spot for history, you know. Like,
Yep.
I mean, I know Egypt or whatever has thousands more years of history, but like Germany had the HRE, they had World War II, they had some of World War One, not in Germany, but like, you know, there's stuff from World War One here, and the Romans,
Well, they're the
and you
major.
know, just all these crazy parts of history. You know, I feel like people should just do what they want to do in their lives. You know, like don't let other people tell you what you think what they think you should do, and because maybe you won't be happy. Like, of course, if someone says, "Yeah, do this," and you think, "Yeah, that's I'll do that," and that I'll be happy with that, then that's okay. But um, you know, do stuff that makes you happy because you only have one life, and I think it's the same for everyone. Is it goes by so quickly. So maybe in
Yeah.
5 years, I don't want to be here anymore. But I like right now, I'm enjoying it, and I'm in a much better place than when I was in Canada at the moment, anyways. And it's
And it's
been
a
a
great
tough
experience.
journey. Yeah, it's been a tough journey, but I mean, but it's always good, and I think I've learned something new every day pretty much here, and I'm always you know, always with German people, so I'm always like having to talk in a different language and think differently, and you know, everything's just a learning experience for me.
Yeah, there's like no better way to learn another language than actually like being out there with people that speak the language and being forced to speak that language. Uh, in my honest opinion,
Yeah, for sure.
because I know here in Canada, it's a requirement to take French courses starting what, grade four? I don't know what it is now. It might be different now.
Yeah, 4 to 6.
It was mandatory 4 to 6, yes. But we also took it
Yeah.
in grade seven and grade eight, and you took it in grade nine, but I didn't. But God, was that? It's
No,
like,
I didn't take it.
oh, you
I only
didn't?
took grade 4 and 6.
Oh yeah, you didn't take it in junior high.
No, only four
Oh
and
yeah,
six.
right. No, you're right. I'm thinking
Yeah.
of Sean. But anyway,
Yeah.
but like that's
Yeah.
still
No.
3 years.
Yeah, I had other things that I wanted to do.
Yeah, there's still like there's still
Uh,
3 years of learning French, and I honestly don't remember anything, or I shouldn't say anything, but I don't remember much. I just really remember numbers, and that's about it. And hello, of course.
yeah. Yeah, I know like un stilo and stuff, you know, like all the school supplies that we always talked about, and the numbers like to 10 pretty much. And yeah, I think I learned that being in Germany, I learned like the equivalent in like a couple days
Yeah, that's the thing, because like you have to keep saying it,
of three
like
years
constantly. Yeah.
of French, like 2 days in German.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because I also took a German class in high school, and I mean I remember some stuff. Like again, mostly numbers. I don't know why, but I can remember numbers really well. but that's
Hmm.
literally it. And I took
Yeah,
that for like a whole year. It wasn't just a semester class, that
you
was a
have to
whole year.
repeat them so many times. So
Yeah, like the numbers. I think that's why they were engraved in
yeah,
my head. Yeah, so I took a whole year or a whole year
yeah.
course
And
of
look who's the one in Germany now.
yeah, you. A guy had no prior knowledge of German,
Yeah,
and it's inspiring though. Like just because you don't know a language of a country does not mean that you can't be accepted going there. It's harder because then you have to like really adjust when you're here, but it's like don't let it stop you if you really want to go somewhere. I mean, I like our ancestors did that. Like heck, my great grandfather, he was Norwegian, and he knew some English, I think, but he didn't know much when he came over here. But at least according to my dad, he was very fluent in English uh, later on. So yeah, just don't let that stuff stop you. I like how we keep going back to traveling. This is something that we both really relate to and really helps us get out of our shells,
yeah,
so to speak.
yeah,
I definitely did want to talk about some history though, because we're both also huge history buffs, and specifically military history. I'm pretty sure you're more interested in like World War One, World War Two,
yeah.
that age. But you're also a big fan of like Renaissance and medieval times too, right?
Hmm.
And of course Romans.
Yeah, so I learned a lot of the World War One and World War Two when I was in school, I guess. Not in school, but when I was around that age, I was when I was learning it. And yeah, and then I play a game called Europa Universalis 4, and that's basically like the Middle Ages, like from the Renaissance to the 1800s. And you get to play, it's the entire world, so you can play as anyone, France or the Ottomans or China, and you get to shape your own country and everything. So you learn a lot of history from that, and I read a lot of
It's
books when I
crazy the
was
amount of
younger.
history you learn in like video
So
games. Cause like yeah, Europa for
I,
you, it was like the Total War series for me,
oh,
and
for sure, yeah,
Civilization, and games like that really helped me learn a lot of history as
yeah.
well.
Civilization's a really good one as well because they even have like explanations for everything. Like at the beginning, they explain like the leader traits and why the leader's like this, and then they also have like in the research they have some information on the research and really good to learn stuff like that.
And there's so much fun too, like you're saying. Like at least for me, I couldn't. I don't know why. I just couldn't get into Europa for whatever reason. Well, I think it's more so because it's like a big learning curve, and I just didn't have any
Yeah,
incentive to learn it. And and then of course, getting older, I got less and less time available to play video games. So it I guess I don't know. But there's a new game. There's a new one coming out, right?
there's a new
But by the
Crusader
same
Crusader
company,
Kings 3 actually. Yeah,
right? Crusader.
it's more it's like politically more. So you have to. It's a lot more about ruling the country than like fighting. So EU4 is about fighting, um, and it's a lot less complex in like the country managing part. But CK2, Crusader Kings 2, is you have to have people all have opinions on you. They can kill you. They can steal your land. All these different things. You have a court that you have to like appeal to. So um, if they say we don't want to declare war on this country, then you don't declare war on this country. So then you have to find a way to make them vote to declare war. So maybe you kill them, maybe you banish them. Sometimes you can imprison them and like yeah, sometimes you can imprison them
Propaganda.
and then like cut their eyes out. It's a really dark game in some ways, but
Jesus.
but it's hilarious. Like there's
Holy
there's
crap.
there's ways where you can get like a horse lover, or like a horse as like your military advisor or whatever. Just some crazy funny things. And then they have really good mods, like for Game of
Yeah.
Thrones. which is amazing. Um, so yeah, the Crusader Kings 3, the next one looks really good, and it will be even more like the diplomatic based and more focused on your character instead of like a country.
When does it come out? 'Cause I don't remember.
I don't actually know that. I don't think
Do you
it
know?
doesn't. I don't know if it actually has a date yet. I can look it up really quick actually, but I don't know if it has a date for sure.
Yeah, yeah. That's just
Um,
it's just available on Steam, right?
yeah, it will be on Steam. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of my first strategy game I ever played, which was Stronghold Crusader,
Oh yeah.
and that's like it's like a medieval type game too, strategy game, but it's older. It was like I think it was released in like early 2000s, and
Hmm.
I remember like I first played that when I was like 8 or 9 or something along that age, and I just fell in love with that game. It was just so addicting. Just the it and like it replicating like real life battles from the Crusades and stuff like that, and it just incited and it just put it lit like a little spark in me to do my own research into like the Crusades and like medieval warfare and then stuff like that, and it just made me fall in love with medieval well and strategy and stuff like that a lot because I'm
Hmm.
well we're both big fans of strategy type games and well
Yeah.
strategy in general. Uh, I can definitely say that my friend Levi here is ridiculously good at chess. You smoked me the one time we played,
Uh,
uh, which
yes,
is
it's true.
crazy because
Yeah.
like the only other person that's really like done that well against me is like my cousin that's in the chess club here at the
Mm,
university.
hmm. No, I mean I'm not that good. I've I've beaten a lot of people, but I feel like I don't know if I get lucky, but I think maybe if we played more, then I probably wouldn't do as good. But yeah, that one time we did play, I did destroy you.
Yeah, you just
uh,
smoked me. It was probably because the strategy I had in my mind just doesn't do go well against you
yeah,
specifically. So I'd have to think of a different
yeah,
approach with you, which would be, yeah, take a few
yeah, of
games.
course. Yeah.
Uh, but then like you would do the same thing because we're both really good at
Hmm.
adapting. I've definitely noticed that. But I mean, in like to be a good
Yeah,
strategist, you have to be good at adapting. Can't just keep using the same crap over and over again. Oh, did you find the date, by the way?
it just says 2020, so I guess probably
That's a whole year.
yeah,
Anytime next year.
yeah. I would guess in the next like maybe the late 2020 because I mean, Crusader Kings 2 just got new DLC like a couple months ago, so or 6 months ago, maybe. So, I mean, I would say probably maybe in the summer next year, or maybe in the fall, because I think the game producer they always go on holiday in the summer. So I think maybe in the fall.
They always go on
Yeah,
vacation in
like
the summer? Is that
it's
like a
like a
company thing?
European. Yes, no, it's a European thing, but also the company. Yeah, they always go like in July or June or both, and then they're just gone the whole time. So like no one works. Um, I mean, if they're released before, then that's not a really good idea because then no one will be there to fix stuff. Or if they release after, then it will be fine, but not in the summer, you know? So I would say probably like October next year or something.
Okay, what do you mean by like an European thing though? Like I'm curious because I don't know much about your like European Union policies and stuff. So is there some kind of rule that you have to take like a few months off like in a row or like I literally know nothing, so forgive my ignorance.
No, no, so it's not really a rule or anything, but I know in the fall and the winter is the busiest time when I take the train to work every day is when the train is full and completely full and always late because there's so many people. But in the summer, there's no one on the train, and it's because everyone's on holidays. So everyone takes their holidays to wherever they're going. And it's the same. Europeans go away from Europe in the summer. Everyone comes to Europe in the summer, you know? So everyone here will
Right.
be American or Canadian or Australian or Chinese. They'll be here in June. And then in
Yeah.
June, all the Europeans will go to America or wherever else, away from Europe.
Just exchange
So that
exchange
company,
citizens.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. So then that company just always says like no one is here in July, so no one's working in July. There'll be a few people that of course don't go, but most of them go on July, I guess. Um, and I know my company that I work at, they July and June is like the busiest time for people to leave. Like every week is people, someone will be gone, and it's just like a chain. So like I have three people or two people that I work with, and it was like all of June, all of July was all holidays, and so we always had to keep switching. Someone would come back, and then someone would go on holiday, because they can't have all the
Right.
people at
So
the same
like
time.
so European Union has like mandatory holidays, just like Canada. How many weeks is a
Yeah.
mandatory holiday?
So what I have with a base is 20, 20 vacation days a year, and I have 30 now, so a whole month of vacation days.
I thought you were gonna say like 20 weeks.
No,
Holy,
no, not weeks, no. So I guess 3 weeks or so, yeah. And
20 is pretty
yeah, I
good.
have 30 days, so a whole month. Yeah.
Huh. And so you have 30 days like left of this year or just like total, you mean?
So this year I have none because I've already they make you take,
You
well,
already
my
used them,
company
yeah.
anyways makes us take them before. Yeah, they make you plan them at least by the end of October. No, the end of September. Um, so I have the last of my vacation days are for Christmas. So we have Christmas Day and the day after, and then also New Year's off. But I took off like from the 22nd to the 6th or something like that. So like 2 weeks
Smart.
off, and then I have no holiday days this year. But next year I think I'll have like 27 now because I used a couple of the in January. Um, but yeah, 30 is a lot, quite a lot.
That is a lot. That's way more than Canada. I think because I'm pretty sure, uh, if I recall, Canada is 2 weeks, so 14 days. Uh, but yeah, 30, like at least 20. That's like that's like almost 3 weeks, and then but then 30. That's
Yeah,
a whole bloody month. So like every year you get like a whole
yeah,
month of
exactly.
paid vacation,
Yeah, yeah, and they even had a way on the radio. They had like
and
a
plus like you guys in Europe get so many holidays.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. They have on the radio. They had like a thing where they said if you take your 30 holiday days, no, it's 25, I think. You take 25 of your holiday days perfectly, then you can get 50 some days off.
Huh? Jeez.
You over double your days off by taking them on like a whatever day, and then you get a whole week off or something. Um, and yeah, Germany has a
Yeah.
lot of public holidays. And where I live in the state, North Rhine-Westphalia, has the most in Germany. So even more than Germany.
Damn.
It's
Such a
crazy. They
lucky.
have all of like the Catholic, all like the religious holidays off pretty much that you've never even heard of. But
I could
yeah,
only wish. This guy
come
has
on
like a
over.
holiday like every week, like every like second week. It feels like there's like it's a 4 day week or it's a 3 day work week. Like it's
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
So unfortunately, there's no more into Christmas, but
Oh,
yeah,
how unfortunate.
I think every month there's at least a long weekend or more.
Yeah. God, I wish. I wish. I mean, here in Canada we got it pretty good. Don't get me wrong, but that just sounds
Yeah,
so
for sure.
good. Oh, so nice.
Mhm. It's really nice, honestly. And I'm just doing like a practicant, how would you say it in English? Practical position, I guess, like an apprentice kind of thing. So I
Apprenticeship?
even yeah, not an apprenticeship, but I don't know, a practicant, I guess. I don't know how you would say it. Just like a person that's like learning, but only for like a year or whatever. So a short-term apprentice, I guess. Um, but and so even I get less than like a full German job. Pretty
It's
crazy.
still pretty damn good, like really good. Okay, we got totally sidetracked from what I wanted to ask. Go. So I want to go back to the military history thing for a second, and I wanted to ask you. So, what is your favorite like time period or war, and specifically, if you want to go down to wars,
Oh
which one
man.
intrigues you the most right now?
So if I was gonna learn more about one,
Mm. Like which one?
um,
Yeah,
that's a good question. I probably would learn more about like a Roman one because I know about Rome, but the Roman times there's so much happening and they're so long, like hundreds of years, that it's hard to know so much about them, you know?
yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Rome is definitely up there for me. Um, yeah, for me, I don't know. That like like you said, that's a tough question. Um, I would definitely not say like
Yeah, for
World
sure.
War One or World War Two because those you already know so much about. I've already done my research on that,
Hmm.
and I still like looking up documentaries and all that stuff to make sure I remember everything. But specifically, oh God, I I would I'd probably say the Crusades. Cause like I know like you, I know about the Crusades and I
Yeah.
know about them to some extent. Uh, Mainly the one with Richard the
Hmm.
Lionheart, but the other Crusades and stuff like that, I almost
Oh
know
yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
So like I would definitely like to learn more about that.
They're all failures though.
Well, no, that's true. They are
That's
all of them were complete failures, but they're still interesting.
yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
it's pretty cool. Like in EU4, you know, they have I think it was a crusade at the beginning of the game, and to stop the Ottomans from taking over Hungary, I think
Europe.
it was. And then later in the game, they have like so it's all random. So like it doesn't actually happen like historically,
Yeah.
but you can start as a scenario, and they have the next crusade, or I guess it's not a crusade, but when the Ottomans attacked Vienna, you know. And basically, if the Ottomans won and took over Vienna, that would be the end of like how we know Europe, because it would have been controlled by the Ottomans. Maybe we're even like Muslim, you
Wasn't the Holy
know?
Roman Empire at the time? Or was Austria separate?
Yeah, it was like all of all. I think Austria was separate, but it was part of the Roman Empire. But all of like Christianity was fighting against the Ottomans, and they barely won. They had the Polish hussars and winged
The Polish is right,
hussars
yeah.
and everything. They took everything that yeah, they took everything they could, and they barely beat the Ottomans in that fight.
The Ottomans were scary back then, especially once when they took
Oh
Constantinople,
yeah, for sure.
and they changed its name to Istanbul, which I still hate that. I think the name Constantinople is like sounds way better. But like as soon as they did that, like man,
Yeah.
just the Ottomans were stupid powerful. Like it's probably safe to say
Yeah.
they were the superpower of the world at the time. Like nobody had them
Oh, for
beat
sure. Yeah.
until probably Spain, uh, with you know conquering the New World. But I know the Ottomans can be
Yeah, they had.
they're so annoying in like those games because I know one of my old coworkers, he absolutely hates the Ottomans just because you know how powerful they are and how annoying they are to like if
Hmm.
you're an European country, they're so annoying to you. I guess. But you could probably like attest to that
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, the in so yeah, so in EU4, like they even made them less powerful, the game creators, because before they used to start with claims. So like no, actually cores. So basically they own the land, but then they got in a war and they lost the land. But they started with a core all the way from like Serbia to into like Egypt, like in Syria and all those places. So it's the Mamluks then, but they have all these free land basically, and they can go from being like pretty weak to being the number one superpower in like 50 years in game. And that's
God.
so quickly. And then after that, it's like a snowball, you know? Like there's no way to stop them unless you, as a player, like manage to become a powerful country and stop them, you know? And you have to
Or
fight with
everyone
all
unites
these
against
different,
them.
like what happens? Yeah, exactly. You have to fight with Austria, you have to fight with Hungary, you have to fight with France, and even shitty, even worse, like is sometimes France allies with the Ottomans, and then it's like double trouble, you know?
Oh my God. That.
It's just, why would France ally with the Ottomans? It's so awful. Or the Ottomans with
Oh
Russia.
my gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The Russians back then weren't like, well, obviously they weren't like anything like compared to like, well, especially like the Soviet Union or post World War II Russia um, back then. How powerful is Russia in the game?
Mm.
Or like, or is like Russia even like started? Like, I don't even remember.
So they start out as Muscovy, so they're not. No, no, they
Oh,
start out
okay.
as Muscovy, so like a pretty
Yeah.
small country. They're pretty powerful, but they start with a lot of weak people around them, so they can become really quickly strong. But the problem is they make no money, so and they have to, and their army is really bad. But like in real life, in like the 1800s, it was like the Russian Empire. That was the strongest time of Russia.
Well, I don't know if that's stronger than the Soviet Union
But it takes them a while in U4 to.
if you're talking about reality.
It's, I mean, maybe not as strong, but they were being a lot more prosperous then, and they even had, I think, higher population as well.
Huh.
And they actually had a navy and everything. Like the Soviets didn't really have a navy until later. It's hard to compare a place with planes and battleships and stuff compared to like when they would use horses and
That's
cannons, you
true.
know?
It's just crazy the amount of land Russia was able to conquer and still like hold on to this day. All the way back then, like they conquered well,
Oh
obviously
yeah.
all of northern Asia
Hmm.
and then Alaska as well. Like that's just nuts how big that is.
Hmm.
Because like one of the big factors of World War I was the fear of Russia's might and Germany's, of course, because Russia and Germany were like rising superpowers of
Hmm.
Europe
Yeah.
that were going to be replacing France and Great Britain, and
Hmm.
that's why France kind of steered away from Great Britain towards
Yeah.
mainly to Germany, and they because France allied with Russia.
Yeah, there's a really good series on.
Sorry, this is the delay thing that it's definitely prevalent right now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a really good series on Netflix called The Last Tsars, which is at the very end of the 19th century. Um, so like 1890s or so is when the last good Tsar died, and then that's when Nicholas the Second came, and that's what
No,
happened.
no
Sorry,
affiliation.
Nicholas, but he ruined Russia. Didn't ruin Russia, but that's what happened, and that's how the Soviets came into power. But it's a really really good series, and it shows how strong Russia was when he became
Yeah.
the emperor, the Tsar, and then how bad it was
Yeah, because
after.
Russia lost to Japan, which shocked the world, and like that's the
Yeah.
main thing I remember.
Hmm.
But yeah, he was not great for Russia.
Yeah.
Uh, Actually, that's another thing. A country's history I'd like to learn more about is Russia, 'cause I haven't learned enough about Russia specifically. Like I know more about the
Hmm.
Germany and Poland and Great Britain and France and Spain, Portugal, all those. But yeah, I haven't done much on Russia, and that sounds like a great what was it called again? I'm gonna write it down. The
The
Last Tsar.
Last
Okay, I think
Tsars.
I've seen it on Netflix. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
the Tsar. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a really good series. It's made really well, and it's like ten episodes, I guess.
Huh. I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
And I really enjoy it. I enjoyed it. So I don't know if it's like entirely factually correct or everything, because like it has Rasputin in it, you know you see some things. But I think most of it's pretty true and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
No, I'll definitely have to check that out. Uh, I mean, it's hard for documentaries to be 100% historically accurate, uh, but a lot of them are like, or not, I shouldn't say a lot of them, but like the ones that really care about the information they give, again, aren't 100%, but they're pretty close and definitely still worth a watch. Because I know
Hmm.
my one of my favorite
Yeah,
documentary
for
series is
sure.
called Mankind: The Story of All of Us. I actually own them on Blu-ray, and it's by History Channel, and it's
Hmm.
overall history of all of mankind, and talks about the most significant events to what led us here today, and it's really cool because like they start with us in the Ice Age as cave people, all the way to well today, and it's fascinating to learn of the journey of mankind and how we got to be this unstoppable force that has nuclear weapons and other stuff that can literally wipe out the whole planet, all the way from cave people.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds really cool, actually.
I thought we have watched it together, but I could be
Yeah.
wrong, and maybe we did, and it was just years ago. So
No, I haven't.
well, definitely sometime, whenever we're in the same bloody place together, because that's hard enough being across the world from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
But I can't believe we're already an hour and 24 minutes recording. Like this went by actually ridiculously quick.
Oh wow, really?
And I definitely was a bit
Yeah, for
nervous at
sure.
first, but man, I think it was like about 20, between 20 and 30 minutes in,
Mhm.
uh, just started getting super comfortable and it was like, just felt like a normal conversation and boom, just all that time just goes by like nothing. But
Yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah, it's a normal conversation.
yeah, exactly. Do you have any comments or anything before we end today's podcast?
Um,
Any last minute things?
I think I'm good. I think we talked about, I mean, if we're gonna do a good travel, like a whole travel podcast again, then I think we're pretty good. We covered a lot of the things, and
Oh, we got a lot more to talk about.
um, I think you have to do a podcast just talking about yourself though, or maybe Sean can get you or whoever, and you can get one where you kind of explain yourself more, you know?
Yeah, no, well, the thing is, I want to focus on my guest and like I'll explain some stuff about me.
Hmm.
So like every podcast you'll learn a little more about me because I'm the reoccurring host,
Yeah,
so to
fair enough.
speak.
Yeah.
So I don't need to dump everyone with it, but I'll definitely have some for sure that I'll talk more about myself too. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. All right, well, it sounds good, and I mean, if you stuck this long, I really appreciate it, and I know it's not the best quality yet, but damn, I'm actually pretty proud of how good this ended up regarding everything, and the show's only going to get better and better as
Hmm.
we move
Yeah.
along, and I get more used to the podcast
Mhm.
format.
When Discord actually works properly.
Yeah, that was like our biggest thing is that Discord wasn't working today. But when we're filming this, it's Black Friday, which I actually totally forgot it was Black Friday. So that probably has something to do with it. And Thanksgiving weekend in the United States. So
Mhm.
yeah, that probably has something to do with it. But Anyway, we got it all done, and well, at least I will talk to you guys on the next podcast next Sunday. It's gonna be called, let me bring it up here, Embracing Your Creativity with one of my roommates. And I'm really looking forward to it. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, thank you again for listening. All right, bye bye.